I remember the day I left home like it was etched into my bones, like a scar that refused to fade. My family stood in the doorway, their faces a tapestry of disbelief, contempt, and that unmistakable look of, "You've lost your mind." They told me I was wasting my life, that I was an embarrassment, that I'd never amount to anything. And honestly, I believed them. For a long time, I let their words define me. I carried the shame like a heavy chain around my neck, every ridicule, every smear echoing in my mind as I boarded that plane into the unknown. See, I was a pilot, once, honorably discharged after a crash that wasn't even my fault. The blame was shifted onto my supervisor's negligence, but in the end, I paid the price. Disgraced, broken, and cast out from the only world I knew, I felt like a failure, a punchline in a joke I didn't understand. But beneath the wreckage of my career, something refused to die. A spark. A whisper that maybe, just maybe, I could do something different, something meaningful. I didn't tell my family I was joining a private company building orbital beehives. They would have laughed, dismissed it as science fiction nonsense, just like they did with my dreams of flying. Instead, I poured everything into it. Late nights, relentless research, risking everything on an idea that seemed absurd to the world, but felt vital to me. I was mocked endlessly. Friends and family labeled me a fool, a dreamer chasing ghosts. They said I'd fail, that I was destined to be a laughingstock. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was meant for more, because deep down, I knew the planet was dying, pollution, deforestation, a crisis looming on the horizon, and I believed that my work could help. I dedicated myself to creating sustainable orbital ecosystems, tiny beehives floating in space, pollinating crops on Earth from above. It was a gamble that felt like the only thing worth risking. Years passed. The ridicule persisted, but I pressed on, driven by a stubborn hope. Slowly, the world started to change. The orbital colonies thrived, tiny buzzing worlds of life in space, pollinating, nurturing, regenerating. Earth's crops, once fragile and failing, began to flourish in ways nobody predicted. News outlets caught wind of my work, and suddenly I was no longer the laughingstock, but a pioneer. My orbital beehives became a crucial part of the global effort to save the planet. I remember the day I returned home after all that, after the long, lonely journey from the battered pilot to a leader in orbital agriculture. My family was there, standing in the same doorway, but everything had shifted. The years of doubt, the insults, the dismissiveness, they all felt like distant echoes now. Because standing before them was a woman transformed, confident, resilient, triumphant. I had become what they had said I could never be. And then I did something I'd never planned. I stepped onto the porch, looked them in the eyes, and let the silence settle. My voice was steady, but beneath it, my heart thundered. "You called me a fool," I said. "You told me I'd fail, that I was an embarrassment. You laughed at my dreams, dismissed my work as nonsense." I paused, feeling the weight of every word. But I never gave up. I kept going because I believed in what I was doing. And today, I stand here not just as a pilot, but as a proof that no one's words can define your destiny, unless you let them. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken regret. My mother's eyes welled with tears. My father looked away, and my siblings shifted uncomfortably. I saw their faces, not as the dismissive critics I once knew, but as people who had watched me stumble, mock, and finally witness the truth of my journey. Then I turned to the field beyond the house, a patch of barren land that had been the subject of their derision for years. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small, sleek container. With a gentle press, I release a swarm of tiny orbital bees, beings I had helped engineer, designed to thrive in space, to pollinate from above. The bees took flight, their tiny bodies shimmering in the sunlight. They buzzed and danced, weaving a delicate web of life in the air, and as they settled into the soil, I saw the first signs of green sprouts breaking through the cracked earth, buds opening, life reborn where once there was only despair. My family stared in stunned silence. My mother's hand covered her mouth. My father's jaw clenched as he watched the transformation. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to awe, from mockery to understanding. In that moment, I realized something profound. The greatest failures are often just the prelude to our most remarkable triumphs, that the world's dismissiveness was a mirror of their own fears they couldn't see beyond their limited beliefs. And I was the proof that persistence, faith in your vision, and unwavering resilience can turn even the most absurd dreams into reality. As I looked at their faces, I felt a deep sense of peace. I had finally reclaimed my worth, not through the accolades or the success, but through the truth of what I had built and the lives I had touched. I had become the person I was always meant to be, a guardian of life, a testament to the power of belief against all odds. And here's the truth I want everyone to hear. Never let the noise of others drown out your dreams. Never let their doubts drown out your voice. Because in the end, the universe rewards those who dare to believe in what's impossible, and then do it. I left that day knowing I had closed a chapter of pain and opened a new one of purpose. My family's ridicule had been a bitter fertilizer, and I had grown into something stronger, more resilient, and as I walk forward, I carry with me the knowledge that sometimes the greatest victories come from the harshest judgments. Because success isn't just about achievement. It's about transforming rejection into redemption, doubt into belief, failure into a new beginning. That's the real lesson. That's the power of standing firm when the world says you're wrong. Because one day they'll see what you see in yourself all along. And when they do, it's a victory worth every